hold it up. By the way, how is the sign-in sheet doing? Is that still going around?
Right here.
Good, because I want to make sure that everyone who doesn't have a book gets it. Okay, when you're done, if you could just make sure it gets to this side of the room. If you'd open up to pages 6 and 7, the book is divided into 3 parts. The first part is called the Mensch Basics, where we say, what is a Mensch? What is a mitzvah? We talk about what the book is going to include. And this is a 2-page spread that includes a little picture of Izzy and a series of questions like, how can I be someone people respect? How can I make good choices? What's a mitzvah? How is it different from a good deed? So you can begin with the part opener, the section opener, and you could use that as a set induction, a springboard to begin the section. And you can spend a lot of time with kids and just say, how can you be somebody that people like and respect? And you can begin a discussion that way. And even before beginning the book or beginning the section, you can create a dialogue and an interesting discussion with kids. Page 8 and 9 I already showed you. Each chapter begins with this image of the ripple and this idea that our actions and our choices ripple out and affect others, and that each of us is an important person who has an impact on others. And even though we might be quite small, like the stone, our actions have very, very great and far-reaching effects on those around us. I'm going to ask you to flip around a little bit, because I want to show you a little bit of everything. If you go all the way forward to page 89, every chapter begins with a set induction, a short story set in usually the secular world to help bring the kid into the subject, something that they've experienced before. We have a story of a new kid who comes to school. A story of this kid who's so strange that she likes everybody. We have the story of what it's like to learn how to read and how weird that is to start learning how to read. So all of these experiences that kids have to help and to bring them into the subject of the book and to do what I call bridging their secular and Jewish lives. And so if you take a look at page 89, here's that story of the kid who's so weird that she likes everyone, even the weird kids. Okay? So you have the set induction at the beginning of each. After the set induction, immediately after the opening story, you have an exercise that allows the kids to dig in and write and think and talk with one another and experience it. This is actually, someone asked about piloting it. This is the one that went over very well with older kids, with high school kids. The Menschometer, okay? The Menschometer says, or the Menschometer, whichever you prefer. He was a Mensch up until that point. I'll tell you. So it says, what qualities do you look for in a friend? And it's got this little thermometer, and you connect the qualities: honesty, sense of humor, popularity, kindness, intelligence, and you think, what's important to me? What makes somebody a Mensch? If somebody else is popular, does that mean that I should like them too? If someone makes me laugh, is that something I look for in a friend? And then they connect the lines on their Menschometer. And then we turn around and say to them, what do people like in you? What are some qualities that you have that people are attracted to in you? Okay? So every chapter begins with a set induction, a short story, and then the interactive exercise. And you can easily spend a session just on those two things. This idea of, in this chapter in particular, why it's important to be a Mensch to your friends. And we spend a lot of time talking about why it's important to be a good person to those people around you, your peers, your classmates, your best friend next to you, the new kid across the classroom. Yes?
Quick question. How much time would you say to allot for a chapter? Doing the activities, discussion?
Again, in the teacher's guide, we actually have a grid, and we break that down the time, and we give a breakdown of everything. If you had, how long do you have for a session? An hour? If you had an hour, let's say, to concentrate on one thing, and you may or may not have that, you can spend, let's say, 10 minutes on the set induction, 10 minutes on the opening exercise, 30 minutes on the meat of the chapter, which goes into the history. It presents a Hebrew term. Thank you. And then let's say 10 minutes reviewing at the end, and I think that adds up to 60. So that would be a nice breakdown for the chapter. Okay. Let me show you some other things. On page 42, if you can flip back. We thought a lot about how much Hebrew we wanted to include in the book. And on one hand, we wanted to include a lot of Hebrew because it's religious school. And it's the age when kids are learning to read Hebrew and to master Hebrew. They're thinking about their B'nai Mitzvah. On the other hand, we didn't want to overwhelm the kids who didn't read Hebrew very well. And in my experience, there are the kids who feel really good about their Hebrew and kids who are intimidated by it or scared away by it and feel that if there's Hebrew involved, it's something that they can't be good at. And I wanted to be able to say to them, you can be a mensch even if you can't read Hebrew or if you're not very good at languages. So we met somewhere in the middle, and there's some Hebrew in the book. And every chapter will include a feature called Under the Magnifying Glass. So here, for example, we take a look at Tselem Elohim. We put it under the magnifying glass, so you can have your students read the Hebrew, and then we dive into the etymology of the term. We talk about what the words mean and where they come from. We say, you know what, you might recognize the word Elohim from your prayer. And, you know, it only appears once in the Torah. Isn't that interesting? It must make it special. So under the magnifying glass, we take the Hebrew term, we take the Jewish value, and we analyze it. Take a close look at it. Page 43, on the next page, we were talking about that idea of having an hour with kids. An hour can be a long time to sit and think about one thing. So we thought about this idea of different voices and changing things up and breaking things up within the context of the classroom, of the class time.